This is Christina Barr, and you're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we are going to be talking about, I got this funny thing to show you from Joe Biden, but we're not going to spend too much time on him. I just saw this wild video. Kennedy was hosting her show, and they were talking about monkeypox, and one of the guests pointed out, well, he said you shouldn't have, gay orgies, and you won't have a problem, and people went nuts on him. They called him a bigot. They're like, well, you just shouldn't be having them anyway. I agree with that. But I don't know. It was just kind of a weird thing to get really angry and like, we need to be very careful. And they call him a bigot. So I'm going to play that segment. It was just so bizarre to me. and the guests just kind of laughing like, what the heck? Like, it's just the data, folks. It's not something that a lot of people are getting. And then if you contrast it with the actual New York, their ordinance, like who can get the vaccines, they obviously believe it's treading one way. So we're gonna be talking about that. Also, you guys know I've divorced myself from Disney, but there is a Wakanda Forever film coming out, and they are having Namor in it. And by the way, I know he's maybe obscure to a lot of people. He's not obscure to me. And I actually had a Namor poster in my room forever. It still is not there anymore, but it was a beautiful Michael Turner poster. I'll show you guys. I've read books with Namor. I'm familiar with the character. They did a whole big race swap with him. They're changing his history. And I think it's for wokeness, but the actor did say, I'm here because of inclusion. So I want to talk about that. Jim Harbaugh is Michigan football college coach. He's very pro-life. His wife is pro-life. And they've spoken out on political stuff, sometimes things I don't like, but this is a good thing that I do like, and it's in the news, and he is encouraging people to have conversations. So I want to play his interview from ESPN, which they talk about a lot of things on ESPN. I think most people would really just prefer to watch sports, but I do think it is important that people in general, not necessarily on ESPN, have these conversations with each other about these particular topics, because when we do have conversations, we do challenge each other in our worldviews and our opinions. And there's just a lot of people who don't know a lot of things regarding embryology and life and et cetera and other things like that. So I commend him and want to talk about that. Also, breaking news, Turning Point USA got an apology issued from The View. So we'll be talking about a lot of different things today, a variety of topics. But before we jump into all that, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different articles that we have on the website. Dropped one late last night, and I dropped one just a couple minutes ago. So there's an article about the different birth control bills that have come out or the Democrats are pushing, and how the bills that they're pushing are superseding the Religious Freedom Act, Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And I just think it's weird because they're obviously not bills that I think are really needed. I mean, birth control is accessible. No one is really trying to get rid of them. There's people who would note, someone pushed back on me not too long ago, said, well, they're trying to get rid of Plan B. I'm like, well, Plan B, people feel differently about Plan B. Hobby Lobby went to the Supreme Court to fight to not have to supply that because it stops a fertilized egg from implanting. Some people are like, well, it didn't make it in the uterus, so it's okay. So people feel differently about it. And if you have religious convictions, I think you should be able to still have your religious convictions. That is a First Amendment right. You don't birth. I understand why people want birth control and health care and all the other stuff, but it is still a commodity, right? You have a right to not be killed, at least that's an inalienable thing, your right to life. Though the rest of the stuff are kind of entitlements, right? So I think there's a difference there when we talk about these issues. So I go through that bill because there's a lot of narratives oh, these Republicans are terrible. They're just voting down birth control. I wrote an article about it, digs a little deeper. And I also wrote an article, and we talked about this yesterday, about Democrats disrespectfully using minorities in a war to redefine marriage in the Respect Marriage Act. And so I shared my thoughts about it yesterday, but my thoughts are a little more refined when I put them on paper. So you guys can go check out that article, which really stemmed. I saw some people spreading information or misinformation about Lisa McClain. She's a congresswoman from my state. Actually, she's my sister's rep, where she lives with her, her husband and her kids. And they're saying, oh, she voted down interracial marriage, which is really disgusting because my sister is in an interracial marriage. And I'm like, it's not true. It's not true. And like, interracial marriage is not in any jeopardy, even if they get rid of substantive due process. Like Loving versus Virginia is based off of, mainly in equal protection. So it's not the same thing that, Clarence Thomas has an issue with. Not that they would get rid of Oberfeld. So there's just a lot to it, a lot of really just messed up narratives. So anyway, please check out those articles on blacktnews.com. Lots of good information there. Make sure that you are fighting against misinformation as we approach fast approach the elections coming up. And it's important information across the whole entire country. So please check out those articles on my website. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. I appreciate everyone who's willing to support, whether it's $10, $20, $50, whatever you can do. I very much appreciate it. If you feel that you can't do that or you don't want to, I appreciate you guys still leaving comments and watching, adding people, sharing videos, letting other people know about Black Tea News. Very much appreciated. It all helps, the website, the channel, etc. And make sure you're subscribed and following across all the different platforms on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitch, on Facebook, on TikTok. All my handles are at Black Tea News. It's black like the color, tea like the drink. The only one that's different is Twitter. That one is at True Black Tea. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, there should be links in the description. So make sure you guys are doing that. You're going to the website, dropping in your email if you would like emails. I want to thank Brighter Mission Pack. I am in their studio today. If I say something today that triggers you, they don't care. I don't care. It doesn't work like that. They just like uplifting conservative voices, and I always appreciate the opportunity to do so. And lastly, I just want to show a couple of different merchandise, like the I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For. Really love that one. And also, let me show you my Slay Your Fear book. It is my only available nonfiction book right now. It's a spiritual faith book that I wrote, inspired based off the pandemic, and I really wish people had listened to me about not letting fear get the best of you, but hey, it's still relevant. People should, it's not solely about the pandemic or anything like that. It's just about how you can overcome fear. And I got a message from somebody who started reading it the other day, and they said that it really, really was speaking to them. So I thought I would mention it to you guys. All my stuff is available on Amazon if you just look for my name, Christina L. Barr. Also, if you go to blacktnews.com and hit the merchandise link, you will see a banner to my book website where all my books are available. Okay, so first things first. You guys know that I like to start with something humorous, and Trump said something that was pretty funny. At least I thought it was funny, about LeBron James and how he would be the best female basketball coach ever.
And I'll tell you what, if I were ever, I'd be the greatest women's basketball coach in history. Because I don't like LeBron James. I like Michael Jordan much better. But I'd go up to LeBron James. It doesn't matter. I'd say, LeBron, did you ever have any desire to be a woman? Because what I'd love you to do is star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team. Now, we have to change that, and we have to make it okay to talk about it. You know, the young lady I was talking about is afraid to talk about it. She's shunned and she's canceled when she talks about it. This is crazy, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's always a little bit of humor in the truth, no matter how dark it is. But yeah, it is pretty dark. And you can't say that teams aren't aware of the benefit that they can have if they have a trans athlete on their team, like UPenn and Leah Thomas, and how they told the female swimmers, like, basically, you got to get over it. We will help you get counseling if you need some help to kind of get with the program. And that's according to one swimmer that was on Matt Walsh's documentary, What is a Woman? And then they, decided to award Thomas with a female woman of the year or something award or something crazy like that. So that really lets you know that people are aware of the advantages that can come, especially as long as everyone is willing to let them get away with the game. So humorous, but also really, really sad at the same time. I also want to show you guys another video of Biden. There was like some kind of pre-packaged message that they had. And well, let me show you this one first. And notice how many times there's cuts. This is like a 20-second clip, and it's cut a few times. So apparently he couldn't he probably stumbled quite a bit because there's like at least 4 different cuts in this 20 seconds.
This law does so much more. It saves lives, including yours. It'll help you do your job, but it's just a start. Last week, I rolled out my Safer America plan with the goal of doing 3 key things. First, take additional common sense steps to reduce gun crimes and violence.
That wasn't even like very smooth, but I want to show you this other video. People are noting like his eyes and like zooming in, and he looks a little whacked out in this particular video that I'm about to show you. But the caption is pretty funny when those edibles kick in.
Be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. Can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American.
Yeah, he looks a little whacked out there. Hope he's okay. No, sincerely, I hope he's okay because Kamala Harris is just the worst. So sincerely hope he's okay. He's still not a good person. Don't want to be president, but it is what it is. Still don't want Kamala to be president. And gosh, not only do I think she'd be awful, she is awful, and I would like to deny her of that. She's really just the worst. Okay, first thing I want to mention, this is sort of breaking news. Millennial T-Post mentioned that The View has decided to issue an apology to Turning Point USA, which they had a convention, and so there were people outside who were like neo-Nazi folks who were like protesting and etc., which folks come and do terrible demonstrations and they basically like kick them out. But The View, particularly Whoopi Goldberg, decided to say like, hey, alleged like these people were there and they're associated with Turning Point USA. So yesterday I did see that they were like, no, we're issuing like a cease and desist order, and we're going to sue them for defamation. Like that's what. so that was going around. They were pretty serious. They meant business. And so very quickly today, ABC must have said, like, you guys got to issue an apology because this is like pretty serious. And so I don't know how much they really wanted to, but maybe something like that is a bigger waste of time for them to, it's just easier to make their host who say dumb things all the time just apologize. So Whoopi did say something, but one of their other hosts like took the time out to say like, hey, this was not true. This was a mistake. So they said, we apologize for anything we said that may have been unclear on these points. Yeah, so unclear or just absolutely false. Which they did say, we want to make it clear that these demonstrators were gathered outside the event and that they were not involved or endorsed by Turning Point USA. So they did admit that what they said wasn't fact at all. So at least they apologized and retracted it. Tim Pool had mentioned, Whoopi Goldberg was just flat out smearing them, which Tim Pool gets a lot of traction on YouTube. He has a pretty big show. But they pay those broads to be wrong every day. So it is nice that they made them retract it, but the Turning Point USA, they're a pretty big organization, and it would be probably pretty easy to prove that those demonstrators had nothing to do. So I don't know if it would have been worth the litigation, but ABC, went ahead and retracted it. So kudos for the win for the good guys that time. At least we got the victory there. I'm going to move on to this Fox News video that's really peculiar to me, how they reacted with this segment with Monkeypox, and how they jumped on this host for basically just relaying how a lot of it did spread like from an orgy allegedly. So let's look at this segment.
Monkeypox, I think there's a pretty good rule in life. Don't attend gay orgies. When you look at the New England Journal's report of the 528 cases they reviewed.
Ned, come on, man.
It's not about gay. How about not any orgies?
Go look at the New England Journal's report that NBC News reported on Friday, in which of the 528 cases they reviewed, 95% were sex between men. I think we actually have to have a serious conversation about where this is coming from. When I'm done, Brad, you can talk. Instead of going crazy and declaring a national pandemic when 3,000 people have it right now, it's insane.
I don't know, man. You don't have to be gay to get monkeypox, and you don't have to be bigoted when you talk about treating something that is that easily spread, Marie.
I just was it that deep? I mean, it is like 95%. You don't have to be gay to get monkeypox, but they are observing that there is like some kind of proximity. Like the other day, the CDC did, mention that there were some cases with some kids, but they were like adjacent. So you can get it other than being, sexual transmission, but it is basically spreading like an STD, but you can have like really, really kind of close contact. You can have like a towel or something that's on the affected area, and I guess touch other kind of stuff from you. So it's not something that's easily transmissible. And the kind of original spread from it, when this story kind of evolved, they said traced to like some kind of orgy. So I agree, like, just don't do orgies, period. I just feel like the reaction that they're having here is pretty intense, and they're going to call him a bigot again.
Bigot.
Yeah, it is.
This is science, Kennedy. 95% of the cases from the New England Journal.
You know what? I'm going to let Brad respond. Okay, I'm going to let Brad respond because, Brad, we had 372 doses. The United States, in Denmark, where the smallpox, monkeypox vaccine is manufactured, they were ready to go, but because this has been an issue for more men in the gay community, it seems like it has been lower on the priority list. Brad.
Yeah, look, Ned is right when he says that monkeypox right now is mostly affecting gay men. The problem is that public health-wise, not going to orgies in general is a good policy to not get sexually transmitted diseases.
100%.
And so we have to be really careful. We saw with the AIDS crisis, with the HIV crisis, about how certain communities or certain gay people will be stigmatized over something that lots of people do. And we got to be careful about that.
And that kind of, I will use the term, bigoted language that makes it seem like the only people that get this are from one group of Americans. Hey, guess what? Gay men also have friends and family members and colleagues, and this is not just transmitted through sexual activity. It's transmitted through close contact. So you don't fight diseases. I'm glad Brad brought up HIV/AIDS. You don't fight diseases by caricaturing the people who get them or who get them at one point in time.
Yeah, so it just seemed like it was unnecessarily aggressive, but from the panel there, if you're in New York and you need a vaccine for monkeypox, so Kennedy tried to kind of allege that because it was something that pretty much is something that's among gay men, that it's really, really on the back burner. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know what sort of her evidence is for that, or if that's just her having a hypothesis about it. Could it just be that we have an incompetent government? Because there were like doses, but they basically were slow getting it, and some of them like expired and stuff. So, but we've seen a lot of incompetence so it could be that. It could be that because they are making this a global sort of emergency. and it isn't something that is a global emergency. And we talked the other day about how the panel of who didn't think it needed to be like this crisis that they've announced it is, but the director overruled them. Um, I don't know, it's because they really do want to have some kind of paranoia that they want to push, or because it's impacting a marginalized group and they want to still make sure that people are talking about it and aware of it and etc. But it's not likely that um if you are a responsible sexual person that you're gonna catch monkeypox. You can get it other ways besides an STD, but it's not likely. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be careful. But it's still just not likely. But here is the New York stating how you would get it, or stating to be eligible for the vaccine. People who meet all, not some, not one, not a couple, all of these, you have to meet these to be able to get the vaccinated for monkeypox. They said, are you gay, bisexual, or other than the two, or other man who has sex with men and or are transgender, gender nonconforming, or gender non-binary. You got to be 18 or older and have had multiple or anonymous sex partners in the last 14 days. So they're not giving the vaccine to people who aren't sleeping with gay people. So Fox News like flipping out about it. It just seems like so weird to me when I watched it, and he seemed flabbergasted when it all went down. So seems like a terrible thing to get, and people just kind of slow your roll and be pretty careful. I don't think it's likely that most people anyway, and regardless of the community that you're in, that you're going to get it, but just don't have anonymous sex partners and then in the near future, keep it in your pants regardless of your sexual orientation. Someone said, yep, they're monkeypox proof. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Not in the least bit. So I don't know, just a weird thing from Fox News. It's really, really strange, in my opinion, that they flipped out in the way that they did. Okay, so I want to talk about Marvel Comics for a moment. And you guys know, well, maybe if you haven't watched me really, me and my family were really big into comic books, or at least we were. Like, my dad wanted to learn how to read because his dad brought him home a comic book, and it was just a family thing. Before I was talking about politics, I was talking about comic books, etc. With my sisters, we had this thing called the Gorgeous Geeks. We go to Comic Cons, we interview people, etc. It was a big thing that we did. Anyway, I have thousands of comic books, thousands of them. And I'm not what is deemed a normie, like someone who just watches a Marvel movie, means to Google something. So Wakanda Forever Comic-Con was this weekend, and so Marvel had a bunch of news and videos and panels, etc. So they did like first looks of Wakanda Forever, which is a sequel to Black Panther, which they decided to just kill off T'Challa because Chadwick passed away. And I will maybe share my feelings about this after I talk about the Namor thing. Spoiler, I do think they should recast, but it is what it is. But I am not a person who does not know who Namor is. I think maybe to a lot of people he's a more obscure character. And I think they race swapped him for nefarious sort of reasons. I think they probably didn't need another, in the words of Kevin Feige, like another white straight man or something, or kind of paraphrasing what he said, but he did say something like that, saving the day, or I think he said something along the lines about Doctor Strange and why he shouldn't come to WandaVision to save the day or something. So anyway, they are conscious and about who's on screen, what their gender is, and what is the color of their skin. It doesn't need to be comic book accurate. They don't care about their actual characters and their backstory because they've changed. They're changing a lot here. So it looks like the Namor in this world now is Mayan for some reason. He's even got like some, that rod in his nose, this jury. It's very strange. Now, if it's just like ancient, I don't know how ancient old he is. Namor is old, but he's not ancient old. So that's curious. My sisters were looking at this picture and they were saying that they're concerned about how toned he is because that doesn't look like a swimmer's body. And they're and my sister's like, I know athletes' bodies and that back ain't it. That's what they were saying and noting. So if you're not familiar with Namor the Submariner, that's Namor. So obviously, on one end you see like kind of like the original what he looked like, and these other two photos were of Michael Turner. I loved Michael Turner's art, man. He passed away a long time ago from cancer, I believe. But I had this poster with the green trunks and the gold bands on that. That's a poster that I had on my wall for a long time. And I really like the character of Namor, Prince Namor. And in this one in the middle, you got Sue Storm there because he's been obsessed with Sue Storm forever. So it seems it's not totally out there that he's first popping up in a Wakanda movie. Because he does have dealings with T'Challa for sure. But it does seem weird that before there's the Fantastic Four really introduced to the MCU, they're having Namor. And I've been waiting for him to pop up on screen for a while, even back in the days of like Fantastic Four when they did the other movies. Where with Chris Evans when he played Johnny Storm, and you had Jessica Alba in the films. Even at the end of the second one, I'm like, oh, Dr. Doom got knocked in the water here. What if that leads to a third one and Namor's in it? So I've been waiting for him to pop up on screen for a while, but they've changed his backstory. So people have been noting that they think it's weird because all the Atlanteans are blue. They're blue skinned, but he's obviously not. Here's the actor here. You can see that he is brown, and Namor is not brown. And he is mixed. He is half Atlantean and he's half human. His dad is a white guy. And the actor himself said, I wouldn't be here without inclusion. And he said that at San Diego Comic-Con. He said, I'm excited and I'm so happy to be here. It's an honor, and I want to say something really fast about inclusion. He said, I come from the hood, seriously, and thanks to inclusion, I'm here. I wouldn't be here without inclusion. A lot of us kids out here in their hoods are looking at us, dreaming to be here, and they're going to make it. They're going to make it. And he said, in a second thing, I need to switch to Spanish. Thank you to everyone, all the country of folks, and the Latin Americans who crossed the river. You left everything you love behind. Thanks to that, I'm here. Thank you, by the way. Namor is amazing. Namor is amazing, but I don't think you respect my character when you change his backstory and everything. He's not like mine or whatever this is. That's not who Namor is. And I think him being sort of this outcast, because he would be teased for being pink. They don't want to have all the sympathy for a white person or someone who appears that way. So I would think that they're still going to have some of that dynamic of being the outsider, but it's blue people versus this brown person. And I think that's probably the story that they'd rather tell. He doesn't look like him, and this isn't his backstory, and if they're going kind of like an ancient thing, Namor is not an ancient person. He is old because he was like associated with Captain America, and the Invaders was their team, so he is an older person. He's when the mutants like really became hot, they were like making everybody mutant. So Namor was like deemed as the first mutant, is what they were trying to say. But so he's an Atlantean, mixed Atlantean, and also a mutant. They decided to include that all in, and I don't like it, and I understand like this man gets to play a cool role in this film, and but I still don't like it. I still don't like it. Like, I know what he's supposed to look like. I know his background, and I don't have a problem with Marvel tweaking some stuff. But what's with all like the race stuff? And this isn't like a side weird, like off the cuff character. He's a pretty dynamic, long time running character that a lot of people are associated with. A lot of people had posters of on their walls, have comic books in their basement stacked. So inclusion is fine and dandy, but like Marvel, Disney, they have characters that they can make popular, and they have characters of different ethnicities that they could have different people play roles. But I don't understand what's all the race swapping with the white folks. I don't get it. I don't get it. And this is and you can't say it's not a small thing because they've changed his background. They've changed his entire background. So you can't say it's a little small thing that they've decided to change. Now maybe because Aquaman already had their thing, that they don't want it to be like a similar sort of story on screen to sort of do a different thing. I don't know what all the background is, but I don't like it. I don't like all the race swapping stuff, especially if there's just like an attitude of, well, we couldn't let a white person do it. And there's very few white people, obviously, in the Black Panther films. I think there was only like two. There was the Claw guy and the guy who was the agent who was in the office, like the British one, and the Hobbit. Yeah, I think that guy. I think those are like the only two, really. Maybe unless like some other like henchmen's on the side. They're the only like two like lead roles. So I don't like it. I got nothing else to say other than that. If you've seen the trailer for Wakanda Forever, and again, I'm pretty divorced from Disney. I a lot of it feels like it is grieving the loss of Chadwick, and they've decided to kill off T'Challa. Personally, I do think that they should have recasted T'Challa. I understand why they necessarily wouldn't. I think people would have forgiven them if they recasted it. People understand what happened. He wasn't like fired. He didn't do something crazy like Amber Heard or somebody, And I understand, again, why maybe they wouldn't. But at the same time, he was a real person who was an actor who played in a role, and to feel that they have to kill off this character because the actor died, it feels kind of disconnected from reality, as if people can't separate the two in a way. And there are still a lot more stories to tell that I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off sort of an organic way that they want to move forward. And T'Challa's story wasn't quite finished. I don't know how they're going to explain his passing in the film. But I think they should have just recast him, honestly. So that's how I feel. I'm not alone in that. But it is what it is. I'm not going to see it because, again, you guys know that I'm pretty divorced from Disney right now. Not only am I divorced from Disney because I don't know, I lost a lot of love for these anyway. Endgame was probably the last. I didn't enjoy Endgame, and the fact that it wasn't my favorite thing made it easier for the breakup. But there's a lot of things about Disney that I view to be kind of pretty evil and terrible, the company, and I don't really want to support them with my dollars, and there's that. But the Namor thing really, really, really annoys me. And I did enjoy Black Panther. I think it's the first one. I think it was super overhyped, but I did enjoy it. Actually, we had a event with the I was the coalition vice chair of the Michigan Republican Party at the time. My sister worked for the RNC. She was the urban director of engagement, and she was also the women's engagement director. And so the RNC actually covered an event. We rented out a theater in Birmingham, and we gave people free tickets to come watch the movie, get popcorn, and like pop was covered. But before the movie, we had like, a panel where it was like a business panel, and it was explaining like the tax cuts and giving other kind of good advice as well. So we did not just say it was a Republican event. So the room was like a good kind of split. And so there were some Democrats there who were like walking in like, this is like a Republican thing. And we're like, yep. And then after we gave our presentation, they were like, what's wrong with you Republicans not giving us this information that we need so we can make good decisions for our families, basically. And so I'm like, you know what, we need to do better. So it was a great experience, and a great night, and we all had fun. A room full of like, there were people on the left and people on the right just enjoying a film. Like, that was so long ago, and we could just like enjoy a film, but it's not really like that anymore, unfortunately. Especially Disney is someone who pushes that they resent their customer. We're just so far away removed from just even a couple years ago. So I'm not it's not something I'm gonna see. But again, hashtag not my Namor. Hashtag not my Namor. Hashtag not my Namor. Hashtag not my Namor. Okay, I want to move on to Jim Harbaugh, who's he's a coach in Michigan, U of M, where my dad went to school, by the way. And he's very pro-life. He spoke out on some issues, like he supported Colin Kaepernick. Can't stand that. He spoke out about some other things. So we don't always like agree on everything, but he is very pro-life. His wife's very pro-life, and so they decided to speak out on it. And ESPN, who gets political sometimes, but they did an interview talking about it with him. And he's like, if anyone in my circle feels that you can't have a baby, he's like, well, we'll take care of them. So he's putting himself out in there on the line. He's just like, be brave enough to choose life. So I just want to play his interview really quick.
Faith is very important to you, and recently you made an appearance and spoke at a pro-life charity event. Why did you think that was important to do, and did you receive criticism, support after that appearance?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, faith, family, football. I mean, those are my priorities, and I just think that this issue of life, of saving life, the abortion issue is one it's so big that it needs to be talked about. It needs serious conversation. What do you think? What do I think? What are other things? I mean, really, people really think about it. Not so much like, hey, I don't want to get involved with that because it's too big of an issue for that. I mean, it's a life or death type of issue, and I believe in and I respect people's views, but let's hear them, let's discuss them, because there's passion on both sides of this issue.
So I think something he's saying there is totally 100% true, that people need to have these discussions. Now, there's some people, someone did a reply video to something I did the other day. I didn't even watch it because There's some people I don't care to engage with, and some people, if you've reached the point where you just don't want to give any sort of moral consideration to the child, and because you like decided to, not because like you need some more information or whatever, just because you made the decision. And this is like someone who I've seen like on lives talk about you could have an abortion to treat pregnancy like you would remove a tumor or something. And I'm like, well, that's obviously disgusting. And they'll say things like, if you have an abortion by the pill, which will cut off your basically it'll cut off your resources to your fetus, and then it will basically suffocate / starve to death, and then you take a second one and it comes out of you. They'll say, well, that's a woman's not killing her baby, she's just denying them resources, and consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy. Like, if you're like that far gone, I don't know if you're in some kind of cultish mindset, if you have an idol in your on your nightstand of Moloch, if you get a check cut to you every week from the Church of Satan. I don't know, but if you're that far gone, I don't know if I want to talk to you other than for the purposes of dunking, and I've got like too much stuff to do to always go that route. So I don't think I'm gonna have constructive conversations with those kind of people, because I don't even know if they're genuine when they have those discussions. But a lot of people just they don't know the embryology, they haven't thought that much about it. And or when you ask a question, when does life begin, and you try to suss out how consistent they are with where they want to draw that line, they can maybe see that maybe they're not so consistent and maybe rethink some things. There's people who literally think that it is just a glob of glue, clump of cells. Someone told me that fetuses don't have any brains, and I'm like, I saw one source that said it starts as early as 3 weeks, but let's say 5 weeks. Like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, the development all starts very early. Like, do you know how it would develop by the end of your first trimester at 12 weeks, your baby is like, I'm like, and to say you don't think a fetus has a brain, like, what do you precisely mean by that? So it is important to have conversations, because a lot of people just don't know. And I think a problem that the pro-life movement has been apathy. People are just like, oh, it's just not my business. So they just kind of throw it out there. It's like, well, when you start talking about how they want to use all these tax dollars, some things that they do that are kind of immoral with the remains and stuff, and you kind of start digging in all this stuff, I think people kind of start having more aha moments. And I don't know if you're going to get everyone to the point of when they cross that bridge and they're like, I want to be pro-life, because there's still people who consider themselves pro-life but still want pretty big exceptions. But people, like he said, we're talking about a life and death situation, life and death. And so with Roe v. Wade being overturned, this is something that's going to be on the ballots with a lot of different states, people running in local government where it's going to be really relevant. And people need to know how to talk about these issues and also be ready to defend their positions. So he's correct that it's a very important conversation to have, and it can be a difficult conversation for a lot of people. But it is one that we need to have. So let's keep watching.
What would you do and as you bring up this idea of discussion and how important it is, what would you do if a player or a female staff member of the Michigan football team came to you and said, Coach, I respectfully disagree with your stance. Can we discuss it? Yeah, that's what we need to discuss it. Let's discuss it. Have told them that, and it goes even further. I mean, same thing I tell my kids, boys, the girls. Same thing I tell our players, our staff members. I would encourage them, if they have a pregnancy that's wasn't planned, to go through with it. Let that unborn child be born, and if at that time you don't feel like you can care for it, you don't have the means or the wherewithal, then Sarah and I will take that baby. Any player on our team, any female staff member, any staff member, or anybody in our family or our extended family that doesn't feel like after they have a baby that they can take care of for it,
we got a big house. We'll raise that baby.
Thanks.
Yeah, so there's another thing out there for folks who are like, well, people don't care after the baby is born. There's someone who said that they're willing to, for the people in their lives who feel like they're in a situation where they can't handle it after it's born, because that's what a lot of people talk about. Like, they don't know what happened. They don't want to, they bring up foster care, even though the baby won't really end up in foster care. But people say, like, would you want a child to grow up unwanted? It's like, no, they're not unwanted. There's people who, like, in line waiting for it. Even children who have different disabilities. There's people waiting to love them, to take care of them, to, raise them. So they're not unwanted. And so he's willing to do something just to try to preserve life. Now, I don't know how he is in his normal life every day. His players and people in his circle know him a lot better than I do. But I appreciate him standing up for life and saying, hey, to the people who he knows, if they find themselves in a really difficult situation, that he is someone personally who will be there for them and to stand up for life. So I think that's great. I think there might be memes soon, or some pictures or some commentary about creepy people waiting to take your babies. I don't know, but it's better. Isn't it better than getting rid of them? Isn't it better than that at least? We are not a society that is standing up for life. And I people like in the pro-life movement are, but it's so strange and concerning how many people are just super, super, super fighting to protect abortion and not really protect people in these situations who feel so desperate, like they really need them. And I would like people to feel like they don't need abortion. I would like society and culturally to get to that point where we don't feel like we need them. But the abortion industry is not driven by, the really, really rare fringe circumstances of like a 10-year-old um who feels like the need to, who is going to get it, because in a situation where if obviously they delivered, they would probably not be able to deliver again. Which, by the way, last I heard, that child is still with their mother, and that rapist was her boyfriend. um I have to look into it again and get you guys updated, but that story is so dark about the child who had the abortion across state lines. Which she didn't need to go across state lines. So that part was fake news, but there was actually a victim, and her mother is somebody that child should not be with. She's not in an environment where she's obviously protected, and the mother stood up for her boyfriend. So dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, and Life from Mulan. I'm just like, these people are awful. But that's not the makeup of abortions. That, like, 99% of them are elective or close to it, I guess, because if you consider like life in the mother, you in medical stuff, you might get to like 98%. So people do it because they feel they're not ready, because financial reasons, because of relationship stuff, things that people could help prior to getting pregnant. But if the time comes and they are pregnant, can we as a society say, hey, we would like to help you financially? You are strong enough to you can rise to the occasion. You really can rise to the occasion, and I want to help you rise to that occasion. And if you really feel that you can't, we can find someone who is willing to give a lot of love to your child. And right now we have people who are resenting that. I talk about Elizabeth Warren a lot. Apparently, like, my governor vetoed a lot of like pro-life stuff and trashed pregnancy crisis centers too. So you're not pro women if you don't really want to help them not need this. How can you be a pro woman if you don't want to help women not need this? We should be funding pregnancy crisis centers up the wazoo. That's what we should really be protecting and fighting and tweeting about. Helping these women, not helping the institution of abortion. It's just really, really bizarre. and sad, but good job on U of M coach there. Again, my dad went to U of M. Loves Michigan football. I'm not a big sports person myself, but my dad went there. So that's the show for you today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content that we have on the website. Again, I do have some articles that I dropped, and I one of them I think is, well, both of them are really important, but there's gonna be lots of talk about. Democrats are probably going to keep trying to push really, really sort of fringe bills or they'll come off as fringe bills to drive different narratives, like the Respect Marriage Act, and people are trying to say, and there's a big news station or something that had a TikTok that went pretty viral talking about how Republicans, they didn't talk about the 47 who voted for it. 40, I think it was 47, 45, 47, something like that, who voted in favor of the bill. They talked about all the Republicans who didn't. So it doesn't matter what you do, they will focus on the ones who didn't, and they won't say, well, it was bipartisan. Some people noted that, but their goal now, they don't want to give credit to the fact that there are people who changed their mind across the side of the aisle. They're going to focus on the people who did not do that. So that still Republicans are trash. Maybe you got one over there. Maybe you did the right thing here, but at the end of the day, you're still trash, and you're still on a trash team. So there's no point in like just doing something for attaboys, because the media, the left, they're not going to give them to you. They may give you a little bit, but you have to be consistent. As soon as Mitt Romney does something that stands up for conservative values, are like, oh, he is trash. I knew he was trash the whole time. When he's against Trump, it's like integrity, and we're crying from our integrity. That's what they do. But as soon as they do something that's like against them, they're like we always hated this guy. Binders full of women, putting slaves back in chains and stuff. So that's how they are. But they mention how they voted out gay marriage and interracial marriage, and this article is about like, why are they using minorities and people engaged in interracial marriages like my sister for this sort of narrative? Because interracial marriage it's not the same as gay marriage, and if Obergefell went down, Loving's still not going down. They're decided on like different sort of premises. So one of these is not like the other. They don't have anything to do with the other. You just want to make everyone involved and call Republicans racist on top of homophobes because you don't think that people care enough about gay marriage. That's what it is. Even though it has like 71% at large with Americans in favor of it, still got to be like, no, they're racist too. So please check out the article on the website at blacktnews.com, and please check out the one like on birth control, and there's lots of other different articles on abortion and other topics you guys can check out. Gender ideology, etc. Keep pumping those out. Still working on my pro-life book. Got a lot of good stuff in it. Got a lot of good content coming. Got a lot of good articles and stuff that will be coming as well. I'm gonna be writing one about Whitmer very soon, if not tonight. See if I can get that in a major paper op-ed, but I will also put on my site as well. Make sure you guys are checking out different merch on the website. Like, I'm not the victim you're looking for. Be Better Not Bitter shirt. The My Money My Business stuff. Also got different books. I already talked about my faith book earlier. I have historical fiction fantasy books. This one's like, imagine like X-Men meets the Civil War. So you guys can check out that books. I also got like children's books as well that you guys can check out. If we're trying to build a parallel economy, so make sure you guys are supporting people who don't hate your guts. I don't hate your guts. So go ahead and check out my stuff. You can find it. If you go to Black Tea News and hit the merchandise button, there is a link that can take you to my book website, but you can just search for my stuff on Amazon. God bless you guys. There's a debate tonight. I was actually supposed to sing the national anthem, but if you can tell, I have a bit of a cold, and I don't want to be a mouth breather on everyone. So I'm going to politely just kind of try to watch it online and give you some feedback. But we're very, very close to our Michigan primary, and we'll see who comes out on top. God bless you.